Welcome back to Written in the Sky, aka the visual novel that is taken off the Steam store. That's the thing. Usually, some games that are like either mediocre or really bad will be taken off the Steam store, but I've seen like okayish games that are like taken off, which is pretty unfortunate. And you have to find like a free download of it or like torrent it or some stupid shit like that online. But let's continue reading. Hopefully, this part will be the last. And I did choose the 18 plus scene part. I never, I don't know what it's like to press no for 18 plus stuff, but I'm pretty sure they just removed the scene of it or something like that. So, anyway, the day after Sienna left me with her proposal, my life continued in a relatively normal fashion. Or you mean my life continued in a relatively normal fashion, not by. Bit of a typo there. I said goodbye to my father, who was still trapped inside of our pet goldfish. Oh man, she didn't return her dad back to normal? That's so funny. Who was still trapped inside of our pet goldfish, ate breakfast, cleaned my alien wedding ring, and headed to school. Just a normal morning, without any talk of aliens, or interplanetary wars, or ceremonies of any kind. Even so, after such an abnormal day, there was no way I could go without my day in peace. Every waking moment, I wondered about what had happened, and the choice Sienna left me. I stayed up most of the night thinking about it, but this really isn't a decision I should be rushing. Getting married is a huge deal, especially since I'd be marrying into royalty. I'd have my own servants, I'd rule over a planet. If nothing else, it certainly wouldn't be boring. I could experience an entirely new way of life, not to mention all of the cool alien technology. And yet, do I really have the guts? I've only just met Sienna. I couldn't do something as impulsive as marry her, could I? Well, I mean, your life is already boring. You might as well choose something that is like a new journey of something. Impulsive as marry her, could I? This whole situation is utterly absurd. How can I even consider going through with it? And then Benjamin Franklin said, Hey Azure, are you listening to me? It would be exciting, and no life on Earth could ever hope to compare to it. But what would I be getting myself into? I need more time, more information. The way things are, I can't. Azure! Eh? What's happening? I knew it. You fell asleep in class again. I didn't fall asleep. No more excuses. Go to the vice principal's office right now. Not again. I knew I shouldn't have bothered coming to school today. Yeah, screw school. With another boring day coming to an end, I quickly made my way home. Despite being in school for the day, I spent most of my time outside of class, being reprimanded for my behavior. As a result, the day passed even more slowly than usual, giving me ample time to think about Sienna's proposal. Hey, at least your school didn't found the home because her dad is like still trapped in a goldfish in the brain of a goldfish or consciousness of it, that is. Oh my god. The days passing more slowly than usual, giving me ample time to think about Sienna's proposal. Sienna, are you here? I shouted into my silent home as I entered the living room. However, I could see neither hide nor hair of Sienna. My father, who was laying on the floor and floundering like a fish out of water, was the only person I could see. Sienna? I entered my bedroom, softly calling out as I entered. Ah, you've returned. How was the learning prison? Have you fulfilled your sentence for today? I considered correcting Sienna, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized there was nothing to correct. Learning prison? That's pretty amusing. Another word to say it. I guess so, though I spent very little time actually attending class. I was mostly trapped in detention. Aha, I see. So that is what it means to have a detention. A person from the learning prison called, asking for your father, and informed me that you had a detention. I asked her to elaborate, but she just told me about you, not about this concept of captivity within captivity. Once again, I couldn't fault Sayana's summation. It's not like I was trying to get in trouble. I was just in deep in thought. Uh, you mean to say it's my fault that you were punished? And no, that's not what I'm saying. I don't blame you for that. But you're right. That is what I was thinking about. I see. Even after thinking it over all day, it was difficult to reach a decision. A single day was not enough to reach a decision on something as irreversible and life changing as marrying the queen of another planet. Nonetheless, as my deadline approached, I knew what I wanted to do. Sayana, I wanted to something you. I want to marry you. Eh? What are you saying? Where did you learn to speak like that? Huh? Did I say it wrong? I mean, that certainly is a stage of something, but still, you jump straight to that. Um, did I say something wrong? I was trying to use the word you used yourself, but I must have said it incorrectly. What I'm trying to say is, Sayana, will you marry me? Eh? You mean it? You'll marry me after all? That's right. Sayana, even if we barely know each other, the truth is, my life has been more interesting these past few days than it has the rest of my life. What a what a generic dialogue. Like the main girl have this very boring average life, and then things change as she snuck out of the home, found this ring after stalking this mysterious figure that is Cyanide, and look what they end up now after one day of thinking. Rest of my life. If a life with you is even half as enjoyable, then I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You really mean it? You're not just saying this out of pity or a sense of duty as the ring bearer, are you? No way. I wouldn't sign my life away over something as silly as that. Cyanide, if you'll have me, then I want to be your king. Cyanide continued to stare into my eyes with a look of pure joy on her face. Tears formed in the corners of her eyes, though never streaming down her cheeks. Oh, geez. If Cyanide starts crying, then I won't be able to hold back either. Driven both by curiosity and a desire to keep Cyanide from crying, I moved on to the next step. So, Cyanide, what do we do now? How do we perform that ritual thing we're talking about? Is the ritual involve sex? What are you talking about, dear? You already said it yourself. We something, in other words, we consummate our marriage. Consummate? I don't get it. Well then, let me show you. Sayana closed the distance between us, taking my body in her arms. Oh, yep, I called it. She held me close, tightly squeezing my face into her breasts. Sayana, what the heck are you doing? Shush, just leave it to me. I may not have any experience, but if my partner is my fated Azure, then I'll do my best. Sayana carefully removed the glasses from my face, placing them next to my bed. She then slowly lowered me onto my bed, cradling me in her arms all the while. Well, what an image. Once my body weight was being supported by the bed, Sayana climbed on top of me. She slid between my thighs and up my body, pushing my skirt up as she ascended. This is Azura's perspective, by the way. Sayana? Sayana didn't respond to my call. She simply drew her face closer, looking into my eyes with a kind of gentleness I had only ever dreamed of. So, before I could finish saying her name, Sayana pressed her lips against mine. Her voluptuous chest pressed against my stomach, pushing me down and preventing me from escaping. But as her soft lips merged with mine, escape was the last thing on my mind. My first kiss, taken without my consent, and yet the sudden act sent pleasure surging throughout my body. Cyana's lips moved in sync with mine, almost as though we had done this before, yet her clumsy movements left saliva around both of our mouths. She continued to stroke my lips with hers, unrelenting as unfamiliar sensations shivered down my spine. I could feel my body gradually begin to relax as her gentle touch soothed me, and I finally started to accept what was happening. I gasped for air as Cyana pulled back. A strand of saliva still joined our mouths, but neither one of us paid it any mind. Cyana once again resumed her position on top of me, staring longingly into my eyes. "Are you ready, my love?" Cyana spoke without hesitation, but the blush on her face told me that she too was embarrassed. "Ready?" Cyana moved from my side only for a moment, turning off the light before returning to her original position. I could still see her clearly, yet somehow the darkness caused my skin to grow even more sensitive. As Cyana traced my skin with her fingers, I could feel a tingling sensation all throughout my body. I subconsciously reached under my skirt with my right hand, reacting to the stimulus without thinking. But before I could even try to gratify myself, Cyana beat me to the punch. She stopped my hand with her left arm, meanwhile placing her right hand on my chest. Cyana slowly rubbed my chest as she brought her lips to my cheek. She kissed me repeatedly, albeit faintly, from my earlobe down to my collarbone. Cyana's lips tickled the nape of my neck as her hand slipped under my shirt. Cyana skillfully undid the hook on the back of my bra, then carefully removed the fabric from my body. "Cyana, stop it." My weak protests went unheard as Cyana dropped my bra on the floor. Unimpeded by my bra, her right hand continued to gently massage my chest, soon causing my nipples to stand on end. Well, ain't that something? As soon as I focused on her right hand, however, Cyana's left hand began to pull up my shirt, exposing my bare flesh beneath it. "No, don't. This is embarrassing." "Hush, my king. You have nothing to be embarrassed about." In one swift movement, completely unlike her gentle foreplay until this moment, Cyana slid my shirt over my arms ahead, then tossed it aside. I immediately tried to cover my bare chest, and Cyana used the opportunity to remove my skirt and panties in the same manner. Panicked and desperate, I tried to cover up down there as well, but as she watched my feeble attempt, Cyana took my arms in hers, pinning me down. "Don't hide yourself from me, my love. I want to see every inch of your body." "But it's embarrassing." Cyana sighed, smiling as she did so. "Well then, would you feel better if I was embarrassed too?" I nodded my head as I looked away, and in response, Cyana let me go. She activated a control on her arm guard, and in mere moments her clothing all but vanished. Cyana's bare breasts, full to the point where mine couldn't even be called breasts in comparison, dangled in front of my face. Her naked stomach and thighs pushed against mine, tickling my skin so faintly that the borderline pleasure felt more like teasing. Is this better?" Cyana asked meekly, wearing a light blush on her face as she brought her lips an inch away from mine. I tried to retort and to crawl away further, but the moment I did so, my voice caught in my throat. Softly pressed against my lips were Cyana's, which quivered slightly as she moved. However, the kiss lasted only a moment, as though she wanted nothing more than to silence my protest. Doesn't look like there's anything to be censored, unless I have to censor the breast part of it. Or, well, doesn't I don't really see the nipple part. Well, there's the butt. Well, the text box is covering the bottom part, which is important anyway. So hopefully I don't get flagged, unlike my fucking her lie try to believe video, which I had to edit it. So, however, the kiss lasted only a moment, so she wanted nothing more than the silence of my protest. Rather than resume kissing, Sienna seemed more interested in wondering with her eyes. So this is what my darling Azir looks like. While I covered my face in embarrassment, Sienna made her way down my body, gently stroking every inch of my naked flesh. You're very cute, Azir. Makes me want to eat you up. No longer content with simply stroking my flesh, Sienna opened her mouth, this time pressing her lips against my nipple. Paying my flat chest no mind, Sienna licked both arrows clean, happily sucking away at my pink flesh. No, stop. Nothing will come out of there, you know? Sienna lifted her head, almost as though my words had convinced her to stop. I know that. Nothing will come out of mine either. Not yet. Okay, well, nice to know I probably have to cover that too. Saying that, Sienna moved up my body, positioning her breasts right in front of my face. Though I was hesitant, I knew what Sienna wanted, and the pressure to reciprocate her action proved too much for me to bear. As her large breasts swayed in front of my face, I caught one of her nipples with my mouth and began to suck on it gently, as she had done for me. There's some moaning sounds. Sienna let out a faint moan as I sucked on her breast. She pushed her torso down, forcing more of her chest onto my face. Even if nothing will come out of them yet, it still feels good, doesn't it? Unable to answer, I continued sucking on Sienna's breast single-mindedly. I always was curious about how this would feel. I tried sucking my own breast before, but the closest I could get was sucking my fingers before rubbing my nipples. So in other words, Sienna just masturbated? Compared to that, Azira's mouth is heavenly. Seemingly wanting to heighten her pleasure, Sienna slowly began to move her hips. Thanks to our difference in height, even with her breasts smothering my face, Sienna was able to align my hips with hers. But before I could feel her hips meet mine, a muffled shriek of surprise left my mouth as Sienna's finger traced my genitals. She ran a single finger through my non-existent pubic hair and over my clitoris, finally landing at the entrance to my vagina. What do we have here? Sienna ran her finger up and down my genitals, sending waves of ecstasy throughout my body. You're getting rather wet down here. Not that I'm one to talk. Sienna took my hand in hers and guided me to her own genitals. I felt a notable bump just below her thin pubic hair, and beyond that was... Not so rough, my love. There's no need to be impatient. As Sienna guided my hand to the opening of her vagina, my fingers slipped from the unfamiliar amount of lubrication. Amazing. I never knew women could get this wet. It must surely be an alien thing, right? Well, as your perfect girlfriend, an alien girl, or a girl from Mars, that is, alien thing. Doubting my own sense of touch, I moved my hand from Sienna's genitals to mine. However, contrary to my thoughts moments ago, I was every bit as ready as Sienna. Oh my god, is that really mine? I don't masturbate often, but when I do, it's never... Hey, don't forget about your partner, dear. Noticing that my mouth had stopped moving and my hand had returned to my own body, Sayana spoke up. But rather than tell me to continue sucking or move my hand once more, Sayana just simply shifted her hips. Though we had been laying rather flat on one another until moments ago, our legs were now intertwined. Sayana's legs were loosely locked around mine, and I could feel the faint tickle of her pubic hair rubbing against my clitoris. Uh. Hmm. The second I began to moan, Sayana pushed her breasts into my face once more. Uh. Are you feeling good, my love? I have confidence in my ability to please a woman, even if I've only ever practiced on myself. Sayana slowly began to rub her hips up and down, sliding her wet crevasse against mine. The tickling sensation from a moment ago vanished completely, replaced by pleasure unlike anything I'd ever felt before. Yes, just like that. You moved to Azure, my love. Responding to Sayana's loving request, I locked my arms around her waist and gyrated my hips. Gyrated my hips, or whatever you call it? No, not like that. Do it more like this. I stopped moving and Sayana took control once more. She thrusted her hips awkwardly, slapping her genitals against mine. It looked and felt strange, but every time our hips collided, a shiver of pleasure was sent racing through my body. So, do you think you can do that? Just as she started to pick up speed, Sayana stopped thrusting her hips. She signaled for me to continue, and for both her sake and mine, I gave it my best. Bunch of oofs. Though my position under Sayana made moving difficult, I tried my best to emulate her actions. I pounded my hips against hers, desperately trying to rub our vaginas together. Calm down, my dear. This isn't a competition. But if you're that desperate to finish, then... Sayana removed her breasts from my face and pulled a few inches away. But rather than leave my side, Sayana simply changed her position. She lowered her hips and pulled one of my legs up, realigning our genitals one last time. Brace yourself, my love. Starting slowly, Sayana quickly picked up speed, thrusting her genitals against mine with far more ease than before. I could feel her vaginal fluids sucking my thighs and asshole as our juices combined, thoroughly staining the sheets beneath us. Oh boy, and the climax. It's like, Sayana! An explosion of pleasure washed over my body as Sayana violently thrusted her hips against mine. The wet sound of our bodies slapping against one another echoed throughout the room, drowned out only by our overlapping cries. Well, at least Azure's dad, in the consciousness of a goldfish, is the only thing that he's going to hear. Overlapping cries. Azure, my love. I'm going to... And Azure is like, I'm... And both cummed. Ain't that something? The scream of, After a long night of passionate lovemaking, Sayana and I awoke in one another's arms. You know, surprisingly, I'm surprised they didn't add a Futanari feature to that. But I guess that's just one way of this so-called generic vanilla shit. After a long night of passionate lovemaking, Sayana and I awoke in one another's arms. Though we both cleaned up and dressed before bed, there were still obvious stains on the bed sheets, and just looking at Sayana was enough to make me blush. They didn't bother cleaning up the stains on the sheets of Azure's bed. Even so, after making up my mind yesterday, I knew what I needed to do. Are you really sure about this? If you don't want to go, nobody will force you. You stop saying that? I already made up my mind. Okay, okay. Well then, is there anything you need to do or to bring? Interplanetary travel is neither easy nor instantaneous. We won't be able to return for a while if you forget something. Hey, hey, who do you think you're talking to? I have everything I need right here. I patted the suitcase I packed less than 1 hour ago. Inside were mostly clothes, but I also packed a picture of my family, some snacks for the trip, and a couple of books. Really? Then I suppose you at least want to say goodbye to your father first. My father? Why would I want to do that? I love Papa, but there's no way I could even begin to explain all of this. So let's just leave him alone. She has no words. I see. So be it then. I'll put your father in his original body and we'll be on our way. Sayana touched her arm guard as though typing on a computer. She input the necessary commands, and a moment later, sounds began to emanate from downstairs. My eyes! Dear God, what happened to my eyes? Uh, oops. I guess that's what happens when you go a few days without blinking. Hmm. Your father appears to be in a lot of pain. Don't worry about Papa. He's tough. Right. Well, just remember all of this when you become a father. Me? Become a father? Good one, Sayana, but I know that's not possible. But what if? That'll be funny. I'm surprised they didn't even make a fucking sequel to that. For this kind of weird story of a sort. Even if a girl can be king, it's still impossible for me to impregnate someone. Oh, I see. So two partners must be of the opposite sex for procreation between humans to work. That explains a lot. But we aren't humans, are we? Not both of us, at least. So worry not, my king. I shall bear your child yet. You will? Absolutely. In fact, after the wild night we shared last night, I have little doubt that your seed has already been planted. Eh? What the fuck are you talking about? How is that possible? Simple. During our bonding, we exchanged ample bodily fluids. Using the excessive amount of DNA extracted from you, my body will begin to create and nurture life. This is how humans procreate too, correct? No words. Well, she's not wrong, but I don't know if I'm really cut out to be a father. But there's no use complaining about it now. Indeed. Well then, let us be off. Okay, so that's how it works. So Cyana can procreate herself, extracting the DNA during sex. Well then, let us be off. We have a planet to rule, my liege, and a lot of work ahead of us. Well, there you have it. The end. Well, pretty short story, and it's an indie visual novel with a few people on the development team. Eh, yeah, this reading is worth over an hour of the sort. So, oh, there's more to it. Since the day Sienna and I left Earth, many months have gone by. I have been living on Mars, slowly being groomed into the role of a king, preparing to rule by Sienna's side. Our daily lives have been busy, filled with duties I never thought royalty would need to concern themselves with. But even then, it's been anything but boring. Hey, would you look at that? Both are now a couple, a king and queen, and look at that, living happily ever after. Look, my king, the resurrection of yet another monolith is nigh complete. At this rate, our civilization will be rebuilt sooner than I dared dream. No sooner had we announced our quote-unquote marriage, then a reconstruction of Mars began. Every day, the people of Mars have been working hard, rebuilding cities long forgotten. Amazing to think that we've already made it this far. I never knew being a king could feel so rewarding. This is only the start, my love. Just you wait. By this time next Earth year, you'll be taking part in yet another rewarding venture. That is pretty rewarding, isn't it? Azir is taking part in yet another rewarding venture. Cyanna patted below her stomach as she spoke. She's talking about children again? I'm thankful that Cyanna put off that particular aspect of marriage while we rebuild Mars, but is it really that important that we have children so soon? At any rate, I can't wait to see Mars once the resurrection is complete. It will be wonderful to see the civilization you knew from childhood. Indeed, though not as wonderful as... As Cyanna and I spoke of peace and revitalization, we were greeted by a painful reminder of how far we had to go. What appeared before our eyes was a semi-autonomous fighting unit. Autonomous, or whatever you call it, fighting unit designed for interplanetary war. Oh, just as we have a happy ending. Fortunately, the unit that appeared before us belonged to the kingdom, not our adversaries, so we were not at risk. Nonetheless, it's almost time, huh? This really won't end without a fight. The unit that appeared before us surfaced in response to a growing need, and to the danger we would soon face. As a tool of war, its presence signified the start of true conflict. Our strongest asset in any fight from here on out, brought to the surface. The mightiest war machine at our disposal, the personal fighting unit of the late King of Mercury. That's the machine I'll have to use, right? Although Cyanna kept relatively silent on the subject, I had already figured out that much on my own. As the new King of Mars, and, by extension of Cyanna's lineage, the new King of Mercury, that machine was rightfully mine. Furthermore, it is said that only a true ruler can pilot such a massive unit, leaving only Cyanna and I capable of taking up the reins. But with absolutely no experience fighting, let alone using such a machine, the whole concept scares me. If it comes to that, yes. War is already imminent, and you will be more of a target than any other. If the dissenters breach our defenses, you may have no choice. Cyanna sounded remorseful as that foreboding message left her mouth. True to her words, while many were thrilled to hear of our union, others saw this as a betrayal of the people and an excuse to escalate the ongoing conflict. It's scary to think that we're already facing the possibility of death. Back on Earth, I would have jumped at the opportunity to pilot something like that, but now... Agreed. This is not how I wanted to spend our early days together, ruling side by side. However, as tough as it may be, we cannot allow ourselves to show weakness, neither in front of our enemies nor our allies. We bear the will of the people on our shoulders, and we must put up a brave front. We must continue to work hard, for the sake of the people, of our people. And if war truly is the only way to settle this, we'll be ready. And it ends just like that. I thought it was going to be like, some happy ending, but I guess, war is inevitable of the sort. So I guess there is no sequel, but I guess things just be like that, But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to reread it for more than the first time. It's just more like time to kill of the sort. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy this. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you then for more additional read throughs. Have a good one.